Good morning.
Morning. Then Pravina, can see you there. Pravina.
I'm here. Good morning. I'm here.
Morning, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm looking for the other panelist. Is he in?
Let me call Mr. Njue.
Yeah, I'm looking for Mr. Njue. Let's give the other panelist a minute or so. Once they are in, the other panelist, if he is in, we'll start off. I hope we are all ready.
Mr. Rubanga, help Joseph Njue to join. He is in the main room.
I think we need some direction on how to join the panels so that everybody is able to join from the main room.
I think it's just that you click. Let me see whether he has been assisted.
Please do.
You can click on your name on the participants list. There'll be more
Rogers Mutende, does it have any effect?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm in a meeting. Eh?
Njue is being assisted.
Let's give him time. Once he's ready, we will start. I can see Njue has joined. Joseph? Joseph?
I'm fine, Munyao.
Yeah, karibu.
Asante sana.
Yeah, I understand the conference is quite large, so it's easy to make a wrong turn.
Of course, yes.
Karibu.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, karibuni. I believe we have all the panelists. Pravina, Dr. Linda. We are good to go.
Yes, we are.
Okay, distinguished panelists, delegates, and participants. Good morning. My name is Charles Munyao. It's a great honor to participate in this panel as a moderator. I'm a Deputy Director, Immigration Services, and the Chair to National Coordination Mechanism on Migrations. Today, as we participate in this National Leaders Conference and on population and development, let me state that it's quite a honor because this conference does not take place quite regularly. The last one was on about 10 years ago. And being members in this meeting, I think is a great honor to all of us. Today's panel is exploring international migration. This is a critical conference whose theme is investing in human capital for achievement of Vision 2030. Today's theme for the fourth panel is migration, mobility, and urbanization. Let me observe that discussion on human capital is not complete without international migration. Since migration has taken place since time immemorial, and it takes place within the boundaries and across borders. Traditionally, there are no borders, and therefore movement was quite free for the population. But now with boundaries, it has become necessary to control or regulate movement between nationals and across the nations. Distinguished members and panelists, international migration is a key feature in globalization. It is an important element of socioeconomic development of states and societies. And still, international migration is touted as a threat, not only to livelihood of societies by supplanting new societies, displacing existing ones, but also have political, social, economic, and cultural consequences of interest to states. Now, these consequences shape and are shaped by policy approaches adopted in international, national, and subnational level. The kind of migration policy depends on arguments as state sovereignty, prevailing global migration priorities, respect for fundamental human rights of migrants, developmental utility of migrants, and aspects of free movement of persons. These approaches determine the shape of population policy as well. Politically, population dynamics present a critical yet sometimes heated discussions in the context of perceived political interpretation of the population dynamics. Increase in population means increase in political capital, bargaining ability, and therefore political success. And therefore, population dynamics is critical in any discourse in any state. Now, as you are aware, population dynamics are important for socio-cultural development. The creation of social groups and new societies such as migrant societies is an important social development. Due to this, management of population, including results of international migration, is crucial for national development and planning. Now, due to cross-cutting nature and sound population policy, is thus an important principle for our whole government and our whole society, even as it addresses itself to challenges attendant to fragmentation and multiplicity of stakeholders. This resonates very well in ensuring safe, regular, and responsible migration and mobility, which we have a pleasure to interact with today from IOM. The Directorate of Immigration plays an important role in population management through management of international migration and also facilitation of the same. As we are aware, Kenya is variously described as a home of international migrants, a melting point of its own kind. Thus, it's an origin, it's also a transit and destination country for international migration. For instance, between July 2020 and March 2021, the Directorate issued a total of more than 155,000 passports to Kenyans. This is despite the existing situation we are in of COVID-19. Now, this shows the level of mobility by Kenyans. Now, the destinations for the traditional are mainly in the traditional Africa, Europe, America, Asia, and Middle East and Oceania. It can be deduced that most of these migrants do so for economic reasons, as labor migrants, sometimes for medical, and at other times for leisure. The Kenyan population diaspora is contested. Some sources give it as 3 million and others give it up to 4 million. It might be necessary to have a census for the Kenyan diaspora. And this also gives a clear picture in terms of the migration for the Kenyan population. By the end of 2020, the diaspora contributed through inward remittances about 3.1 billion US dollars. And those are statistics given by central bank. And I believe a higher contribution or remittances has been done because some of the money is transferred directly through, without going through the financial systems, is not captured here. Now, a population policy should therefore take cognizance of the existence of this population abroad and initiate strategies to utilize them for national development. The Directorate of Immigration also facilitated between July 2020 and March this year, 2021, around 1.4 million people through our entry and exit points. This shows the nature of migration also taking cognizance of the fact that we were closed for most of the time, but getting a figure of more than 1 million is not a mean achievement during this COVID time. Now, we also have a lot of people who have been given permits, residence, and also pupils passes. The figures speak for themselves. Now, the importance of an accurate, disaggregated international data cannot be overstated, both administratively and otherwise. There is a dire need to infuse data components of migration into every operations of all sectors relevant to migration for the sake of data capture and processing for evidence and policy making. This needs to be captured in the policy to inform the kind of policy interventions in the long term. This data should help the policy intervention adapted, whether to adapt free movement or adapt a controlled approach. But as the narrative is now, the world is moving towards a free movement. So I think ours is to adapt to the free, to fit in this narrative of the free movement. Now, with the growing population and resultant migration, we need to, there has to be some challenges of migration of the same population, either inwards or outwards. This can be evidenced in terms of vices like trafficking in human beings, smuggling of persons, irregular migrations. But on the other side, when we look at our diaspora remittances, it means we are also exporting a lot of labor But that does not negate the fact that we have also had Kenyans who are being trafficked, and this needs to be brought into a discourse. There are a lot of challenges. There are also benefits arising out of our population's migration. With that, I would want to bring us to today's session objective, and it's in threefold. The first one is to share with the participants different forms of international migration. The second one is to provide participants with key drivers of international migration. The third one is to share opportunities, challenges, and lessons learned in relation to international migration. As we are aware, Kenya hosts international organizations and also a lot of multinational companies, since Kenya is a hub, not only for international travel, but also for international development. Similarly, Kenya is also a country of origin, transit, and destination, and therefore it experiences different forms of migration, including voluntary. We also host a lot of refugees. We have asylum seekers, irregular migrants, but the largest chunk is of regular migration. As you are aware, Kenya is also a signatory to Global Compact on Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration. This is a narrative by the UN on migration, and I'm sure this will be handled by one of our panelists as we continue. And Kenya, on this, it has been submitting progress on its implementation. Kenya has also benefited from remittances from diaspora, as I said earlier. Therefore, our presenters will be able to explore the different forms of international migration experienced in the country, as well as the present opportunities and challenges brought in by international migration. We'll also be able to look at the issue of labor migration, because Kenya has a large diaspora who are mainly on labor-related issues. Now, our today's session will take the format of presentations by our panelists. We'll also do experience sharing. We'll also receive questions and also have answer sections by the panelists. Our presenters will take 10 minutes to present, and thereafter, we will be able to go to the panel. Sorry. Whoa. I hope I'm still on. There was a small challenge here. Am I still on?
Yes, you are on. Can hear you well.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that presentations will take 10 minutes per presenter. Then we'll have plenary discussions and responses from the panelists. It's my sincere hope that you will be able to take your questions, and please direct your questions to the specific panelists so that it can be handled well. Let's be free to come up with our thoughts. Let's discuss freely and welcome any kind of divergence. Now, let me take this chance to introduce our first panelist, Ms. Pravina Gurung. Pravina holds a master's degree in business administration from Kathmandu University in Nepal. She joined IOM Kenya mission as a program manager for labor mobility and human development and migrant protection and assistance. Pravina is a Nepali national with over 16 years of experience working and expertise on myriad of areas of migration management, such as labor migration, human development, migration governance, migrant protection and assistance, and research. She has experience working in an NGO and INGO, and currently is in the IOM. She brings learning and experience from Asia, particularly from Bangladesh and Nepal. Prior to Kenya, she was heading the Migration and Development Division in IOM Bangladesh. Welcome, Pravina. I'm sure with this kind of resume, we'll gain a lot from you on migration, especially now that IOM is the main driver in issues migration at the UN. Thank you. Welcome, Pravina.
Thank you very much, moderator Mr. Mutendo, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for introducing me and giving me the opportunity. But I'll turn off my video while presenting.
Okay.
Lucy, where I think there will be, your office will be supporting me to run through the presentations, right? That's what we had agreed.
Yes, Mase or Siri will help you. Mase, you can project for Pravina.
Aspect of the contribution of development in other counties. Now the decentralization process, how are migrants contributing to development of their counties? And we are currently doing a project on migration and inclusive African growth, where we have found that in Nairobi is an investment hub, but other counties have resources waiting to be tapped by immigrants and diaspora, but we don't even know about that. And when you look at this county integrated development plans, there's very minimal mention of migration in general. It's only looking in terms of internal migration, rural, urban. In selected counties, they do acknowledge the presence of immigrants, but it's not so elaborate. So we do not actually have county level migration profiles to understand contributions of migrants, which I feel is something that we need to know. Next slide, please. So the benefits of migration is that they contribute to economic development. I don't need to emphasize this enough because I think we all know that the improvements of transport, when you see the roads that are being built, a lot of the Chinese are facilitating that process. When you look at communication, when you look at the technology field, there are different actors involved, even in hospitality. There's evidence of their contributions, but it's not documented for us to see. They also create job opportunities, and you see it in the EPZ sector, where they actually employ different communities in the Machakos region. And also when you look at agribusiness, the use of technology in agriculture, it will attract a lot of young people, and a lot of the young people are interested in using apps to manage agribusiness. There's also transfer of skills, because we have a way of thinking of the way we do business in Kenya, but if someone comes with an innovative way of thinking of doing business and improves the quality and the impact of that business, we transition from that. So we see a skills transfer, but they're also learning how to do business in a place like Kenya, because no one place is the same. And Kenya itself is diverse. What you do in Nairobi, you may not be able to do in Turkana or Wajir. So we need to understand how is that skills transfer happening. They also address labor gaps in different sectors. So when you look at the oil industry that's developing in Turkana, this is completely new to us. And countries like Nigeria, India are very well known for doing well in that sector in industry, and the British themselves. So they'll be able to come in and support the development of that sector, but also transfer the skills. There's a potential of transfer of skills to the local population. It also increases this potential of diversity and integration in the global community, especially at a time when we're trying to explore the idea of free movement within the continent of Africa, and also the recent African Free Continental Trade Area Agreement. Next slide, please. Obviously, there are challenges that are encountered. So we need to ensure there's a balance of recruitment. And I highlight this because you find there's this risk of tensions between not only international migrants and nationals, but also diaspora returnees and nationals. And it's because there's a lack of understanding of what are these challenges that encounter. And this could be linked to as simple as salaries, or even just relations, knowing that the person is coming from abroad, they need to be able to understand the context on the ground. So how do you understand that balance? How do you manage that balance? And although Kenya has promoted the ease of doing business, it's actually quite costly to do business in Kenya when you look at the tax requirements. And this is based on the study we did on migration and inclusive African growth. A lot of the businesses say Kenya is the best hub to do business, but the protocols that come in place, the taxes that actually get introduced, discourages them from migrating to Kenya to set up a business. And therefore, places like Uganda and Tanzania become more attractive to them. There's also the risk of creating a thriving environment for irregular migration to take place, like human trafficking. So how do we manage that? How do we put safeguards to reduce this risk? Do we have the policies in place? We have a counter-trafficking act, but is it something that actually reduces that risk at a time when people are moving quite freely for opportunities in the country? But there's also not enough understanding on the investment and contributions of international migrants with a gender lens. And the reason I emphasize this is because we've realized in terms of, for example, diaspora, a lot of the female migrants are more interested in contributing to the health sector in terms of supporting youth, especially those who are suffering from cases of depression and also substance abuse, but also revamping the health system. Is there a pathway for that? So we need to understand that contributions are also gendered in themselves, and we need to use that evidence to be able to inform the approach going forward. But there's also not enough attention paid to the contribution of diaspora. There's always this focus on financial remittances and real estate. But what about social contributions? So I use myself as an example. When I returned 16 years ago, I came with my degree. I didn't have the financial resources to actually to support an industry, but I'm using what I trained in to actually now expand my knowledge or expand the knowledge on migration in Kenya. How do we create a pathway for that kind of skill to be actually transitioned into sectors? Because there are people who are training in oil and gas, but they don't have a pathway to return into that sector. And I know there's also someone, Kenyan, who was the head of the transport for London. He could be brought in as an expert to sort of guide maybe the train and transportation system as an example to sort of strengthen some of the areas that need to be strengthened. But also COVID-19 has complicated labor mobility because it's the first time movement of all sorts stopped. I don't think we've ever expected something like that to ever happen in our lifetime. We saw a slowdown of business activities, transitioning of businesses to digital platforms, and we need to learn lessons from this experience. And we look at it from an emergency situation. If something like this were to happen again, maybe not in the aspect of health, what is our response system? So moving forward, what are the opportunities in investing in international migration in Kenya? Next slide. Research, and I think Pravina mentioned this, research is very essential to making decisions concerning all aspects of migration, development policies that need to take place. We need to invest in research at a decentralized level. So although we know migration is national, we need to empower the counties to now capture data on migration in general, which will include international migrants. So we need the right tools, indicators in place to capture and measure immigrant contributions, and I believe KNBS is in the process of strengthening that through an EU initiatives on labor migration statistics, which will also identify potential areas of investment. Although we know that they're there, we need to expand the portfolio and include diaspora in that process. And how do we decentralize the process so that if someone wants to invest in a county that is not of their own, but they're interested in developing the sector, how do we create that pathway for them to actually invest? What products can we create? And in terms of research, yes.
We are at time. I wish you could summarize now.
Yes, I can go to the next slide. Policies and regulations, I won't emphasize too much. We need to actually finalize the national migration policy so it can actually guide the counties to actually mainstream the policy at the county level and strengthen the labor governance migration governance structure at national and county level. But we also need to build the capacities and knowledge on migration at the county level. And we also need to bear in mind the free movement of trade and free movement of persons, because if these policies and protocols go into place, we'll see more mobility into the country. And it's a question of whether our country is ready to actually absorb this new, the increase of people coming into the country for employment. Next slide. And then diaspora contributions, we need to understand more about social remittances, showcasing the interlinkages with development. We need to have targeted programs by sector to attract diaspora. So maybe helping them to also meet their governor, because a lot of them do not know the governors of the counties they come from. So Meet the Governor initiative can allow them to at least know what is being done at a county level in terms of development, and they can contribute. And we need to focus more understanding on social remittances, as I mentioned earlier. Next slide. Marketing, I think we do a lot of marketing, which is great, but I think it's something that we need to capitalize on and add more in terms of the diaspora, because marketing has been more focused on foreign contributions, but not so much on the diaspora in as far as remittances are concerned. So I think it's just changing the way we actually attract our own people to reinvest or even contribute to development. Then finally, balancing the equation, ensuring there's a fair balance of opportunities for both citizens and nationals, immigrants and the diaspora, and ensuring the regulations are in place to guide the process so that at least it avoids situations where violations may occur. And with that, I pass it on back to you, Mr. Munyao. I'm sorry for taking a lot of your time, but thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Daktari. I think you've really expressed all the benefits and challenges of international migrations ably. Now, because of time, we'll go directly to our next panelist, who is Joseph Njue. I would request Njue to be quite, to summarize, because we are having less than 20 minutes to finish the session. Now, Mr. Njue is Acting Director for Labor Migration at the National Employment Authority. He holds a Master's of Science in Human Resource Management. He is also holds a bachelor's degree in Business Studies and Economics. He also holds an International Diploma in Youth and Children Work. Mr. Njue has a work experience of 25 years in civil service, specializing in employment services and labor migration. Mr. Njue will be dealing with the issue of addressing unemployment, facilitating employment through foreign employment and placements. There is no better person who can deal with that other than Mr. Njue. It's your time, and Mr. Njue, please keep time. We have 8 minutes to go.
Thank you, Mr. Munyao. Thank you, Mr. Munyao. I'll move very fast because we don't have enough time. Let's move to the next slide, please. We know that the local market gets saturated, and that's why Kenyan youths are increasingly seeking for employment opportunities beyond the borders, where their skills are in high demand. You find that in Kenya, we don't have accurate data on Kenyans working in foreign countries, and therefore, it is only estimated that there are 4 million Kenyans working in diaspora, out of which we have 200,000 who are working in the Middle East, and especially we talk of the Gulf region. Now, we know that in Kenya, we have a regulatory framework that governs the operations of foreign employment. The Kenya National Employment Authority draws its mandate from the Kenya's labor registrations. This is actually supported by the relevant Ilo Conventions. We also have the NEA Act of 2016, the Employment Act of 2007, and the Labor Institutions Act of 2007. We also have the ILO Conventions that actually govern the operations of foreign employment. We have Convention 88 on employment services. We have Convention 181 on private employment agencies, and Convention 122 on national employment policies. Now, you'll find that in most cases, the foreign employment and placement of job seekers is done through the Foreign Employment Administration, which is aimed at not only promoting employment of Kenyans abroad, but also ensuring fair terms and conditions of employment for them. Now, this is actually done by the National Employment Authority and the State Department for Labor in the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. Please move to the next slide. We know that NEA has a very big role to play when it comes to the licensing and administration of foreign employment. NEA licenses and accredits all private employment agencies. It also regulates the private employment agencies. We also do the correction, analysis, and dissemination of labor market information, and we also build capacities of the private employment agencies. Let's move to the next slide. Now, we know that when it comes to the management and the administration of foreign employment in Kenya, this actually involves 4 key issues. One is pre-departure training and orientation. 2, we have regulation of private employment agencies. 3, we have development of home care management curriculum, and the Kenya Labor Migration Information, which is actually in our photo. Next slide. If I can start with the regulation of private employment agencies, you'll find that Kenya has a very high number of unregistered employment agencies compared to other East African countries. And therefore, this situation has given rise to unethical practices amongst the agencies due to high competition for clients. So all employment agencies are required to obtain government approval. This is actually the license that will allow them to send Kenyans to other countries. And therefore, an interministerial vetting committee was established through the Institutions Act, and this committee requires vets all the employment agencies who seek for registration. Let's move to the next slide. So you find that the committee consists of officers from the ministry responsible for labor, immigration, internal security, foreign affairs, and the Attorney General. The committee vets all the applications made by the private employment agencies, and they do this independently. And therefore, they give recommendations on the approval or non-approval of the registration. Next slide, please. Now, anybody seeking for registration as a private employment agency must notify the Director of Employment on all the job opportunities that are available. That is what we call through the demand letters or job orders, and all advertisements for vacancies must be notified again to the Director of Employment. Then they must also submit all quarterly employment returns. This is important for us to maintain data of the Kenyans who have gone outside for work-related issues. And therefore, if recruitment agencies fail to abide or adhere to this, their licenses can be cancelled, but due process must be followed according to the Labor Institutions Act. And therefore, any person who is aggrieved by the decision of the director may actually exercise his or functions or may appeal against such decision to the Employment and Labor Relations Courts. Let's move to the other slide. Next slide, please. Now, next slide. Next slide. Okay, yes. Now, you find that in order to get organized, recruitment agencies are encouraged to form associations. Therefore, currently, there are 2 associations of recruitment agencies that are recognized by the government, and these are the Kenya Association of Private Employment Agencies, that is KAPEA. We also have Association of Skilled Migrant Agencies of Kenya, and these associations were actually formed to be the umbrella bodies of all licensed or accredited recruitment agencies in Kenya. And therefore, they contribute to the prevention of irregular or unethical recruitment. And I can say that IOM has really assisted us in training these recruitment agencies on issues concerning ethical recruitment. Now, these associations also assist in preventing exploitation of or trafficking and smuggling of persons through labor migration or any other malpractices that may occur in the course of recruitment, placement, or employment of Kenyans. They also promote the socioeconomic welfare of members, and they contribute to the professional advancement of their members. Next slide, please. If we can move to the development of home care management curriculum, the National Employment Authority actually initiated the development of this curriculum to address challenges that are faced by people working in private households and institutions such as children's homes, hospitals, hostels, and learning institutions. The curriculum was actually developed in a collaboration with other government agencies such as the National Industrial Training Authority, NITA, and the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Now, the curriculum targets unskilled and semi-skilled migrant workers. This aims at creating a qualified, productive, healthy workforce with practical knowledge and skills in home care management. And therefore, we are saying that all domestic workers intending to work in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia must undergo this course. And therefore, various institutions have been accredited to provide the training by NITA. Next slide, please. Next. Then also the pre-departure training. This actually prepares migrant workers prior to departure, and this is very critical for them to acquaint themselves to the new environment in the host country. And therefore, the overall objective of training program is to introduce the migrants to all the aspects of foreign employment, and therefore reduce the impact of culture shock. And this, and at the same time, provide insights to the migrants on their expectations, opportunities, and challenges in foreign employment. Move to the next slide, please. Okay, now we know that we've been challenges that are associated with pre-departure training and orientation, and mainly has been affecting the skilled and semi-skilled workers. Therefore, NIA is trying to minimize these challenges by making it mandatory for all outbound migrant workers to undergo approved training and orientation. And therefore, special programs are being developed to focus on culture, expectations, environment, job challenges, and responses in cases of distress. And therefore, various training institutions have been identified, training programs have been developed, and there's a curriculum that is in place, and the monitoring of the training and orientation program is being done by the National Employment Authority in cooperation with National Industrial Training Authority, NITA. Next slide, please. Now, we have developed some handbooks, and this is also in our National Employment Portal. And these handbooks endeavor to give to all prospective job seekers through this website or information through the handbooks, information concerning how to get a job in the Gulf, what to look out for and avoid when you go to the Gulf, what to do before departure, what to do on arrival, working and living in the Gulf, and how to return home. And therefore, this portal focuses on providing useful information and resources for migrant workers planning to work in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, that is UAE, and Qatar. This because we have bilateral agreements with these countries. And that is why we've decided to have these handbooks for these countries where we have our workers going to. Now,
Joseph,
yes.
Please summarize. We are running short of time. Please.
Yes, that is what I'm doing on Munyao right away. Now, our achievements. We know that a total of 1,087 private recruitment agencies applied for registration and were vetted. Out of these, 518 agencies qualifying for registration and accreditation. We know that we have some draft labor migration policy and bill that were developed, and therefore they are being discussed. And with time, some of these this policy and bill will actually be out. And NEA has actually prepared a portal that is being used by all the migrant workers. And at the same time, we are making use of the Saudi Arabian Musanet system, which is an electronic platform that was developed by Saudi Arabia to aid the recruitment of domestic workers. And therefore, this has increased the level of protection of all the rights of migrant workers that go to Saudi Arabia. And therefore, through this system, we've been able to send 50,000 approximately young Kenyans who have secured jobs abroad through this system. Now, we have some challenges in trying to do this. Sometimes you can say that we have uncoordinated management of foreign employment. We have lack of system for management of information on Kenyans.
Hello.
Hello.
Is this our session?
Kindly note that now we are back to the hall. We are starting the breakaway sessions. For the next 20 minutes, please reorganize and pick your session. You move in to your breakaway sessions. We are having a break of now 8 minutes. Pick your session as we said.
Okay, thank you. Or you have closed it? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Professor, I was asking a question. Is the session closed?
Yes. Session 1 or the concurrent session which we are running between 8:30 to 10 are over. We are now proceeding to the next set of concurrent sessions, which is at 10:10. Please, if you are going to move to the next one, move to the next one.
I want to see the breakout sessions at the bottom of the screen like last time. They're not yet appearing, so you can see it.
When the break is over, you will now see the session. The next 8 minutes.
All right.
You see how breakaway sessions.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can stop it there.
Nani ekwe nani? Nzuri. Mambo?
Sauti inakuja?
Sauti bado.
Mimi nafikiri bado wako kwa ile wako kwa break ndio waende kwa nani.
Good morning again. The cost for the session, please don't close the sessions. Concentrate on the session only.
Not to close the record.
Don't close the live broadcast. Please tell your groups now. You have set the takeaway rooms and proceed to your respective session.
Excuse me. Just give me the session. But you're not in the, you've already done the breakout rooms. You're not in this room.
We can't see the groups.
Okay, now. Once again, thank you, delegates and everyone else. This announcement from the ICT control. What we are realizing, there is an option which comes to some of us, an option of closing the breakout rooms. These are kind requests that please don't click close breakout rooms. What you have to do is just to join your assigned group and continue with the discussions. Thank you. And only what you can do, the maximum you can do is record the visual group if you are a host.
I'm wondering how much
Is the moderator in the room? Yes, yes.
Yes, the moderator is in the room. But
I think
cannot
our people are still finding their way, but I don't know whether the panelists are all in.
I cannot see my panelists, but the chair, the moderator is on the in.
Let me call them by phone.
Kindly do.
George Wesonga is in. Lucy.
Yes, I'm ready. Is George Wesonga in?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning, Wesonga. Is Mr. Naptola in? Mr. Naptola, are you in? Wesonga, I'm not fighting your colleague.
Let me try and reach him. I think people are getting confused with the breakout rooms.
I have talked to Afula Nabutola. He's joining us.